The perfect offseason does not exist until now. Welcome in to this edition of Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here. Thanks for stopping by. The season is officially over for the Baltimore Ravens after they were eliminated by the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. So now, as one season ends, another begins. We will lay out our 5-step plan for a perfect offseason for the Baltimore Ravens here in 2024. We'll go over everything in just a matter of moments. Before we do, if you want the Ravens to have a great offseason, do your part. Like the video. Don't jinx it. Let's send some good vibes to our Baltimore Ravens, their direction as they take another step forward towards their future. Hit that like button. We'll get started with today's show. The Ravens had a very impressive season. 13-4 overall, best record in the AFC, home field advantage, but ultimately came up short against Kansas City yesterday. Now they look towards 2024, and you have a team that's got 8 total draft picks, including the 30th overall pick in this April's draft. And I think the big thing to follow is going to be how do they manage the money? As Dave Ramsey would say, how do they make their money work for you? With 20-plus free agents on this Ravens team, there's just no way. It's impossible that you're going to keep everybody. And you have some notable names like Patrick Queen, Odell Beckham Jr., Justin Madubuike, just to name a few of some of those notable free agents. Now, we'll say this. In a perfect world, you would love to keep a lot of these guys, and that's what we're laying out here today is that perfect scenario. So let's start with number one on our list, and that is re-signing Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen coming off the best season of his NFL career and a pivotal one for him as he was in a contract year. And it's easier said than done when it comes to this Patrick Queen situation. But what we've seen out of Patrick Queen really since Roquan Smith arrived was him really just branch out and develop and turn into that all-pro caliber player that we knew he was capable of becoming, and has meant so much to this defense. I look at the contract projections. I think it's going to be in the range of about 4 years, $67 million. If you make some cuts and trim some of the fat off the roster a bit, you could potentially make this work, but it's not something that's going to happen overnight necessarily. Queen started all 17 games. I think that's one thing you look throughout his career, that he has been dependable, and the career high tackle number, 133 this year, it was a huge step. And I know they drafted Trenton Simpson, and there was a belief by many that Trenton Simpson would eventually become the successor to Patrick Queen. But I think what you saw out of this year, comparably speaking to some of these other years with the statistics, is that Patrick Queen is heading in the right direction, that he's really just now entering his prime. I would love to see Patrick Queen stay, but what do you think? Will Patrick Queen ultimately return to Baltimore next year or not? It's our pinned comment today. Weigh in. Tell us in the comment section what you think. Y for yes, N for no if Patrick Queen is back in Baltimore in 2024. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. Choose 2 or more players on any given category. Get the choice of more or less. You can mix and match different leagues, the NFL, NBA, NHL, and more. You can also choose between different categories like fantasy points, passing yards, rushing yards, and more. And this week on Prize Picks, you're never going to believe this, folks. We got more on Patrick Mahomes to have over 0.5 passing yards. Better hope it's not an Aaron Rodgers Achilles situation there. We also have Isaiah Pacheco to have more than half a rushing or receiving touchdown. And then Christian McCaffrey to have more than 35.5 receiving yards. If all 3 of these hit, let's say we put $20 down, we're taking home $100 on Prize Picks. Play along with me. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS for a $100 deposit match. The link is in the comments and the description of today's video. Prize Picks, glad to have them on board. Number 2 on our list is re-signing Justin Madubuike. Much like Patrick Queen, this won't be easy to do, but it would be great if the Ravens can pull this off. Madubuike was the breakout star for Baltimore in 2023. He's got a very bright future ahead, and there's going to be plenty of teams interested in his services when he hits the free agent market here in the next several weeks. I'm projecting that Madubuike is going to cost about 3 years, $55 million is the range that he's going to command. Coming off an all-pro campaign as a Pro Bowler, leading this team with sacks. Madubuike is interesting because this is a guy that plays at an extremely high level, not just as a run stopper, but with the ability to get to the quarterback. In that sense, I love Madubuike a lot. Would love to see him come back. You look at his numbers. He didn't have a bad year in 2022, but he had an excellent year in 2023, doubling that sack number, doubling the forced fumble number. Tackles for loss went up. Justin Madubuike is really coming along nicely. If you had to pick one to re-sign, which one would you rather keep, Patrick Queen or Justin Madubuike? Type Q for Patrick Queen. Type M for Justin Madubuike. Let us know in the comment section below. Number 3 on our perfect offseason plan, drafting a running back. Look, it is no secret when you talk about the Baltimore Ravens that they have been through their struggles when it comes to the running back position. This year, you lost not one, but 2 different running backs to season-ending injuries in J.K. Dobbins and Keaton Mitchell. Getting Keaton Mitchell back will be big. We saw a lot to be optimistic about of what Keaton Mitchell can do in his rookie campaign, the former UDFA out of East Carolina, but that's not going to be enough. You need to go grab another running back and think about investing in this position long-term, not just what we've seen from the Ravens of putting Band-Aids on situations of, let's go get Dalvin Cook for 2 games, or let's give Justice Hill more carries. No. Invest and go young and think about for years to come. Now, this isn't the best year for running backs, if we're going to be completely honest. I like Jonathan Brooks a lot, but this is a guy that's coming off an ACL injury. I'm not spending a first-round pick on a running back. Last year, we saw 2 go in the first round. That's not happening this time around. What does intrigue me, because I'm not going to spend an early pick on a running back, let's circle back in the words of Jen Psaki, the former White House press secretary, later on to a guy like Blake Corum, for example. Corum, the MVP of the College Football Playoff National Championship game, 2-time first-team All-American, and you talk about consistency. And that Michigan offense had 3 straight seasons with at least 950 yards. Had he not gotten injured, not last season, but the year prior, we would have been talking about Blake Corum winning the Heisman Trophy. You could argue that there's a bit of mileage there, but to me, I like the experience there and playing in Jim's offense there in Michigan. Blake Corum, I think, would be awesome to have with this Baltimore Ravens team and add him to the bunch and not have to use a terribly high pick as far as that goes. Who's a player the Ravens should draft? We're going to talk plenty of draft stuff here in the coming days. We'll do our first mock draft. We'll talk draft targets, all that stuff. But just based on what you know right now, who is somebody you'd like to see Baltimore draft? Way in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Number 4 on our perfect offseason plan, finding another pass rusher. The saying goes is that you can never have too many pass rushers, right? And the Ravens did an awesome job in 2023 of getting the most out of these older pass rushers, right? Adding Jadeveon Clowney at the 11th hour before the season began, getting Kyle Van Noy in September, and getting these guys acclimated and having a huge impact on this team. Now, go find more pass rushers. And you have a multitude of options here, whether it's in free agency, in the draft, maybe even want to make a trade potentially. You look at what this team did, successfully getting after the quarterback. We mentioned Madubuike with 13.5 sacks, Clowney with 9.5, Van Noy with 9. These guys really got after it, and I do think that it's both talent and a product of the system that's been in place by Mike Macdonald as well. But you look at some of these notable edge free agent options. I mean, Josh Allen's going to be out there, Brian Burns, Danielle Hunter, Bryce Huff, Chase Young. None of those guys would be cheap, but a lot of talent that can naturally fit into this Ravens defense. Mel Kiper, his top defensive end options. I really love Jared Verse out of Florida State a whole lot. I think that he's maybe the best defensive player in this entire draft, if I'm going to be frank with you. I think he's kind of the safest defensive pick in this draft. You also look at outside linebacker options, potentially for Baltimore, of what Kiper's talking about for this draft. Dallas Turner, very good player. I saw earlier in the week, Bleacher Report was giving some love for Chop Robinson, saying he seems like a natural fit for this Baltimore Ravens team. So We know this Ravens team is good about scouting and finding defensive talent. There are plenty of options out there. Folks, all offseason long, we're going to be covering your Baltimore Ravens. We are your offseason headquarters. We have some exciting stuff ahead, from live shows to daily news and rumors, Q&A mailbags, and a whole lot more. Lock us in. Subscribe now. Join the 15,000 plus that are subscribed to Ravens Rundown for the latest happenings in your favorite team. We got you covered. Subscribe now for free. You'll be glad you did. Last on our list, this is more so a pipe dream and kind of out of the Ravens' control, if we're going to be honest, but this is where the perfect part of the offseason comes in, keeping Mike Macdonald around as the Ravens' defensive coordinator. There's a chance that Macdonald could end up in one of these head coach openings. As of right now, Seattle and Washington are the two current openings in the NFL, and he is set to interview with Seattle on Tuesday. But if you're the Baltimore Ravens, you would love to have him back. Macdonald has done an excellent job with this Ravens defense, putting together the best defense in the NFL this year. Of course, worked with Jim back at Michigan as his DC back in 2021 and really just put together an incredible identity for this Ravens defense. Getting back to Ravens football as we know and love, the way that they just dominated teams week in and week out. The Ravens did not lose in the AFC Championship because of their defense. I mean, you hold Patrick Mahomes 17 points, that's a game you should win. But you look at the statistics. I mean, first in points per game, second in red zone scoring, first in touchdowns. They were lethal this year, and Mike Macdonald deserves a lot of credit for the job that he did with this group. Will Mike Macdonald return to Baltimore next year? What do you think? S for stay, G for go. Weigh in. Tell me what you think in the comments section. Appreciate you joining us here on this edition of a Ravens Rundown. If you enjoyed today's show, you want a great offseason ahead for Baltimore, like the video. We certainly appreciate it. We'll see you next time.